Lech. This is the fifth Sichah in Chelik Tesvav. We're holding Ace Hay. Now we're going to get into the beer of the difference of the first time the Yidden went to Eretz Yisrael, the second time they went to Eretz Yisrael. Why is it that when it came to when the Eibishter uses the expression of the Zaracha etenas Eretz Hazais, and why when it came to the Beris ben Absarim he said Nosati? Okay, so the Rebbe brought various different answers, didn't like it, and now we're going to see the Rebbe's beer. Now let's say the explanation is as follows. When the Eibishter gave the land of Eretz Yisrael to the Jewish people, so two things happened. Number one, Aleph, their kinyan mammon. First of all, there was a financial acquisition, das heißt, the bailus of Eretz Yisrael, das was sie belang zu Yidden. So when the Eibishter gave the Yidden, the first thing was there was a financial acquisition, which means that the Jewish people gained ownership over the land of Israel. Now, and then you have the second thing, the inyan from Kedusha Sa'aretz. And then you have the way that the Kedusha, the land, actually became sanctified. Now, the erste inyan, page 104, the erste inyan, the bailus von Yidden of Eretz Yisrael, is gekommen durch dem, was der Eibishter hat weggegeben Eretz Yisrael zu Avram Avinu. Wie die Yerushalmi lernt ab von Lezaracha Nasati, blushen over, as das is nicht ahavtach nor kfar Nasati. So the first thing is, as we said, the Jewish people's ownership over the land, and that came when Hashem gave the land to Avram. As the Yerushalmi says, he learns Lezaracha, to your descendants I have given the land, in the past tense, not a promise, but instead I have already given it to you. Das heißt, as von demot on, afilu noch eder die Yidden haben kevish given Eretz Yisrael bepeil, gehört Eretz Yisrael zu the Yidden oif ständig, which means that even before the Yidden conquered Eretz Yisrael, the land always belonged to the Jewish people. Bis as das is negei halacha, until this is relevant even halachically. Wie die Gemara sagt, as the Bnei Slavcher haben genommen chelek avim, was is gewen a becher pi shnayim, afal pi as ein a becher netel pi shnayim be ra'u kemuchzak, well Eretz Yisrael muchzak is he. And Yisrael came in a way of kibush, in a way of conquest. Rabbi says, move on, was the king in a chazaka demot, hat nit geholfen, afilu nit by ori hagivenim. Hagam says, is chazaka midas hanesin. We asked yesterday, at least by the gevenim, which there was a chazaka midas, why doesn't that chazaka work? Why was it taken away by the kibush of the goyim? So now we could appreciate why the chazaka doesn't work. Because why? Warum die Kedusha hat sich aufgetan a pitzi v'Hashem. Now, the sanctity of Eretz Yisrael could be brought only by the Eibishter's instructions. Ken chazak nit pels an die chaleis HaKedusha. So, since the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael is dafka by the tzivah of the Eibishter, so the chaleis of a chazaka cannot make it kodesh. Hayes the tzivah Hashem hat mechayiv given as the knissos so sein dafka durch kibush Muhammad. The Eibishter wanted that. How should the kibush be accomplished? Is through Muhammad, which means that the only way it could be kodesh is through a Muhammad. Chazaka won't help. The Rebbe says, "We say mizu, and even more so, we bowed by the knissos. Kedusha is gesagt geworden. V'nich b'shah ha'aretz lefnechem ha'aretz stam. Since the Eibishter instructed regarding the entry of Eretz Yisrael, and the land is conquered before you, which means it refers to the land, as is Shloimy as gleich beim kibush Likkutei, was is given Nogra shel Eretz Yisrael und der Rebbe niskan zu the Sichah seine umas. Weil im nicht bisher Yeriche miyad kol Eretz nicht bashto, ist damals nishlam geworden, die chaleis von Kedusha Eretz durch Bias Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael be'efin shel kibush. So therefore, as we said, that when the Eibishter instructed the Yidden to go into the land of Eretz Yisrael, the land without specifying, so you can learn that immediately after the Yidden conquered the city of Yericho, they completed the process of being sanctified in Eretz Yisrael after they entered the land in a way of kibush, because Yericho, as we called, it was like the portal into the land of Eretz Yisrael, and for this reason, the 7 nations gathered in Yericho to defend it when the Yidden began their conquest, and they said, if Yericho is conquered, the whole land will be conquered straight away. Nor benegela kamen mitzvahs is given atanai noisiv kibush v'chilik. That nevertheless, an additional condition was necessary for many of the mitzvahs to become obligatory. Al tanai lechiv from the mitzvahs, and this condition is needed to be met by the mitzvahs to become obligatory. Al derech mitzvahs yevel was a schal and kol yishvei aleh. For example, let's say the mitzvah of yevel only takes effect when all the inhabitants are upon it. Thus is aber nitan inyan was kum zu in kedushas haaretz. It did not affect the land's kedusha. Was das is gewarn, Shloimy was taken by kibush Yericho. This happened dafke when right away when the Jewish people conquered Yericho. The Rebbe al pizei Shloimy, based on this, we can say nachas bara was the chazaka. I feel bara given kiyetzu is a honit pel given the kedushas haaretz. Now we could say another reason why chazaka did not affect the sanctity of the land. He says the kedusha from ganz Eretz Yisrael hat sich schon aufgetan taken by kibush Yericho, because the sanctity of Eretz Yisrael was already brought about as soon as the Jewish people conquered Yericho. Now, so that's the first thing. The Eibishter wanted that the kibush should be done dafka durch milchama, through war, it should be a military conquest, and therefore, kol zman, there's no military conquest, the only way to affect a kedusha, or the Eibishter wants Eretz Yisrael in a way, the kedusha is chal only through kibush. So chazaka doesn't work. Mashenkin by Knesset Ezra, however, when Ezra Sefer came into Eretz Yisrael, was wegen dem hat der Eibishter gesagt, efkoid eschem lahashav eschem esamakim hazeh. The Eibishter said, I will attend to you to return you to the place. Is the Ratzah Mitzvah in Pkidah von Eibishter given nit as mizal kovis on Eretz Yisrael. So Hashem's desire and instruction and intending to the Jewish people, not for them to conquer the entire land, but nor oile zayin ubazetzen zei dorten. He wanted them to ascend to the land and settle there. Der Rebbe hat sich die Kedusha damals aufgetan. Therefore, the sanctity took effect dafke durch chazaka shechziku ba dafke through the chazaka they manifested. Which the Rebbe is not. It's interesting because the Rebbe is, on one hand, explaining the Rogachover, but the Rogachover used a different lashon. The Rogachover learned that there's 2 kibush. You have the kibush rishon and the kibush sheni. The Rebbe is not saying. The Rebbe is getting even deeper. The Rebbe is saying the first time that the Yidden conquered Eretz Yisrael or came into Eretz Yisrael, that was in a way of kibush. So the only way to actually bring kedusha is through kibush. The second time is through chazaka. The Rogachover doesn't use the lashon of chazaka. It's kibush rishon, kibush sheni, stam. Okay, zayin. It's the same idea, but it's the lashenis are not. Okay. Zayin. Apisa is eich verantwortet die erste Shaila von Kesef Mishnah. On this basis, we can also answer the Kesef Mishnah's first question. Die Baal, die Kedusha, Ayidei Yeshua hat sich aufgetan durch die Knisse von Beofen. Ayidei Kibush. Now, since when Yeshua and the Jewish people entered the land, they sanctified it by entering in the way that Hashem commanded. By conquest was together from Kibush. Kibshute is. What's the idea of conquering? Conquering means, it denotes that you're taking something from another person against his will. So comes out, as mitzad is the freer the bilas from the umais, and the kedusha is verbunden mit his gabrus auf the umais durch kibush. Und der Rebbe kiven shenilkacha ars miyadein batal kibush. Basis wird batal these gabrus shala umais, wird batal kedusha was kum durch them. So therefore comes it like this. From the perspective of Hashem's command, the land previously belonged to the nations, and the kedusha of the land was associated with overpowering the nations by a military conquest. So therefore, when the land was taken over from their hands, so their original conquest was nullified. In other words, once the Jewish people ruled over or took it away from the nations ended, so also the result of the sanctity also ended. Now, Mashenkin, so that's the first time. Mashenkin bebi yeshniya. However, when they came the second time, kivin shala Ezra b'kisha lekisha b'kibush ela b'chazaka shechziko by when the Eden came a second entry into the land of Eretz Yisrael, when Ezra returned, and it was Makdish the land, it was not Kaddish, it was not Hektish through conquest, but rather through Chazakah. Kishem vi der Geder von Chazakah Kipshute is full ständige Bailus HaMachzik. What is halachically? What does it mean, the nature of a Chazakah? In simple sense, is that one is making the Chazakah, takes complete ownership as die Zach seine und nicht as sie ist geworden seine durch Zunahme die Bailus von der zweiten Aide Kibush. So, what does it mean Chazakah? That the object is yours, you take complete ownership by removing the previous owner, but not in a way of conquering. So you can apply the same idea to the Kedusha of the land that was brought about through Chazakah. As the Chalei Kedusha damalt is verbunden damit, was sie haben sich umgekehrt in Land, was gehört zu sie, euch fahrden Kibush Yeshua, und der Fahrt wird es Bottle. Which means that the Kedusha of the land then was brought about by their returning to the land, which belonged to them even before Yeshua. It belonged to them when the Eibishter told Avram Avinu. Therefore, the Kedusha will never be nullified. Now, besignen acher, in other words, Ba'aliyas Ezra had the Bailus binyan hamamin oich gepoil b'negeh to Kedushas Aretz, which means that when Ezra ascended into Eretz Yisrael, the financial ownership of the land also affected the land's Kedusha. B'meila, and therefore, Keshem v'das was Eretz Yisrael muchzekasi, where it came on it bottle on euch la'achrei achor b'nes das artzenu und admasenu,